All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jennifer Arnold, co-founder and CEO of MinvervaAI. Minerva is a financial crime fighting platform using deep learning and automation to perform real-time client risk assessment, completing all the regulatory tasks associated with enhanced due diligence in just under a minute. Damian, our CTO, and Victor, our CEO, are going to give you a tour of the platform. So take it away, gentlemen.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jen. Hello, everyone.
Now.
All right, so this is the MinvervaAI platform. We have a UI and we also have an API, but an API doesn't make for a very sexy demo. So here we're showing the user interface. We have the ability to search for an individual or an organization. In this particular example, we're going to search for an individual, and we're going to run a search on Alexander Lukashenko. You can type in additional contextual information like the gender, date of birth, location, organization, any free text notes that you might have on this particular person. But we're going to leave all those blanks just to demonstrate Minerva's capability of bringing back the right results. We're going to do a targeted search and just do a sanction and PEP search for this particular example, but then we'll also do another one later on for a full EDD. So Damian, whenever you're ready. We're going to run the search on Alexander Lukashenko for sanction and PEP. And you see in a quick response time, Minerva is able to bring back the response for Alexander Lukashenko with limited number of results, so reducing those false positives. Let's go ahead and click into that record for Alexander Lukashenko. Here we see Alexander Lukashenko's profile, his contextual information, unique identifiers like his nationality, his occupation, his date of birth, so that we can do PEP as well as sanction determination and matches. On the right-hand side, we see the various lists that this person has identified and hit against. So things like the CIA World Leader, HMT sanctions lists, as well as OFAC and the Canadian Consolidated Autonomous lists. You can see all the various aliases and all the various transcripts that Minerva is able to consolidate and bring back on this particular individual. As part of the evidence, if we wanted to click on Generate Report, we could generate a report and download that piece of information for our case management system and show that our audit teams or our regulators that we have performed this sanction search and what lists that this person has scanned against. All right. This is a really quick demo, so we're going to actually pivot now to a full EDD. The full enhanced due diligence process covers things like PEP, sanctioned, adverse media, open source, various registries, legal, criminal checks, as well as social media. Minerva goes out and reads over 4.5 billion data sets, identifies whether Alexander Yukchingma is part of that data set and what that information is telling us from a risk perspective. Is it positive, negative, or neutral? And if it's negative, how is it associated with financial crimes? So things like fraud, bribery, corruption, human trafficking, so on and so forth. Here you see Alexander's profile. Oh, sorry, I jumped the gun. Here we see Alexander Yukchingma's overall media analysis. On the left-hand side, you see a summary of the risk that this person has been identified with. So a high probability of fraud, bribery, corruption, moderate probability of other non-financial risk. And on the right-hand side, you see all the various articles that Minerva has gone through, read, understand it, and brought back the sentiment, the context, and the analysis. So greatly increasing the speed and efficiency at which the investigators are able to conduct that investigation. You can click into all of these various articles, but Minerva has actually gone out and done that work for us. So bringing back the summaries. Taking it one step further and always thinking about our audit and regulating partners, if you click on the generate PDF, Minerva has gone out to actually grab screenshots of each and every one of those articles, identifying and categorizing whether things are positive, negative, or neutral, because we know that links can or have the tendency to die out over time. So grabbing that screenshot of that various article enables your audit teams, your regulators to come in 1 year, 2 year, 3 years later and still be able to identify and read the same information that your processes evaluated. Damian, do you want to walk us through the client network analyzer for Minerva and how it predicts some of these linkages and also how we can use it for complex investigations?
Sure. So looking at the client risk rating here, you can see it's broken down into factors of dynamic, institutional, and contributed. So the dynamic factors are those that differ based on the profile you're searching. So if they're hitting an international sanctions, PEP, or criminal watch list, if they're associated with a high-risk industry, if PEP status can be inferred from their profile, and just generally their overall adverse media and social media exposure index. So we can see here that this profile, majority of the risk is made up of its adverse media presence and the criminal status that we were able to detect. This is all using natural language processing and contextual-based analysis. Here you can see that the organization has the ability to tune the baseline of risk, so increasing the risk based off of what your organization allows to transact. And then the ability for the investigator to actually be able to contribute to this risk rating and, for example, override the risk score if they believe that the one that Minerva has assigned is incorrect for whatever reason, and they can provide a rationale for that, which will be indicated in the report. And just walking through the index of the report, we want to be able to demonstrate those screenshots in the appendix section. So you can see in the appendix, we have the full breakdown of the data lineage, all the different sources that make up what the final verdict is on each of the different data points. And then if you scroll further, we have all those links indexed and attached, as well as the screenshots that actually evidence the area of the article that's actually contributing to the adversity of the media.
And since we have minutes left, could you take a look at the data augmentation and the data pruning functions in Minerva, please?
Sure. So there's a couple of different ways that the investigator can gain some control over what comprises their final report. So we have this system called a consensus system, which is essentially the aggregation of all the different profiles that make up the report that you're looking at. So you can see here we got a whole bunch of different information on Alexander Yakupching Ma from different sources. So by actually clicking on one of these, for example, if you see that the image is incorrect or something doesn't match up with what you know from prior knowledge, you can click that and it will actually remove it from the report. And hovering over, you'll see that that source was actually crossed out from the profile, and that will also be indexed within the report. And so it just makes it very easy and simple to be able to just quickly triage and figure out maybe what's not making sense. And then on the other side, you can actually contribute information maybe that Minerva didn't discover or isn't publicly available. So if you hover over any of these data points, you have the ability to click that plus button to add additional information. And if you know another location, for example, you can enter in that value and that will be contributed on the organization basis. So all this information is kept secure and within your organization.
Are there any questions, comments, or anything that you might want to dig into?
I just want to address it since it was in the questions. Who are our main clients? A large variety of financial service providers, crypto and payment platforms, neobanks and legacy banks. And this is because we are all obligated to the same set of regulatory requirements, both here and in the States, as it pertains to performing enhanced due diligence, which is the deeper dive you do on a client after they've done something like triggered a transaction monitoring alert or been mentioned in the news, such as Jeffrey Epstein, what else? So those are the primary triggering events for using Minerva. This is the step beyond KYC AML, which is really the sort of table stakes just for opening account. This is the next part of that regulatory chain that has to be satisfied. All right, I think we're done, guys.
Oh, Jen, there's another question.
Oh.
But we are done at time.
Okay.
But do individuals who have a report generated have an ability to receive a copy of the report generated on them?
No, that would be illegal. So when you are a banking client or you are using a payments platform, so on and so forth, it is their regulatory obligation to collect this information on their clients. There is no obligation to share that with a customer. And in fact, if they needed to make a regulatory filing, such as an STR, which is a suspicious transaction report, we are forbidden by law for sharing that information. All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming. I've left my email in the chat. So if you have any questions or would like any follow-up, send me an email and we'll set up a time to chat. Thank you very much.